Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful 4th of July weekend, a safe one, and had time to spend with the family and had a good time. So, as usual, this is the Monday morning call is a great time to share questions, concerns, things going well, things going poorly. We can all benefit from each other's experiences, both good and bad. So, if you got those, go ahead and type those in or raise your hand. And if you're on a headset, we can actually talk. I'm always open to that as well. So, with that said, we'll go ahead and get started here. So how to get people to say yes? Psychologists have found people are much more likely to say yes to a new idea if it is presented to them a little bit at a time. If the suggestion is shoved at them all at once, they're likely to reject it. That's out of Selling Power magazine and the May 2013 issue. The point I want to make here is it's a great explanation of why we do what we do. Because as a great example, WealthMax has been around. Equitrust WealthMax has been around for about a year now, and it has not been sold to a large degree. And I've had a lot of guys here in the last 2 weeks, now that they've seen the WealthMax presentation that we have, that have said, "Wow, I've tried to sell this and people just would not buy it, but with your presentation, boom, they just buy it." At this point, I've yet to have somebody tell me that they've done the WealthMax presentation and the people have not bought it. So I think we've sold like 20 of them last week. And not one person that was shown said no. And the reason being is that the way these guys were showing their presentation before is they'd whip out the presentation, or they'd whip out the Equitrust illustration to show the client how it worked. And guys, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? What do you think when they whipped out, when the advisors just were so excited about the Equitrust WealthMax product that they whipped out the illustration? What was the first thing that the client keyed in on? What do you think the first thing the client keyed in on? When they whipped out this illustration, had all the numbers on there, and they were going to prove to them that this is a good deal for them, what was the only thing the client saw on that illustration? Let's see if somebody can get this. I'll wait till somebody types it in. What do you think they saw? What's it say on the front of the illustration, guys? It says life insurance. So what's the first thing people saw? Life insurance. So after that, you could show them numbers till you were blue in the face, proof till you were blue in the face, and the only thing they were going to see is what? Life insurance. They were done listening right then. So again, if you read on the screen here, psychologists have found people are much more likely to say yes to a new idea if it is presented to them a little bit at a time. So let me ask you a question about life insurance. How do they view life insurance? They view life insurance as what? Life insurance. Life insurance that if they die, it protects their wife. If they die, it pays off the mortgage. If they die, it provides their kids with a college education. Do they need any of those things anymore? No, they don't think they need any of those things anymore. So we're coming up with a use for life insurance that's brand new to them, that they've never seen before. And if we're going to get them to agree with it, we need to get them to agree to it a little bit at a time. So I had somebody actually count the questions I ask in the WealthMax presentation. It's over 100 questions I ask. That means that we're only moving at a little 1% at a time to get them to agree that they need this thing, and it works extremely well. So let's take a look at a real example of this. The author of the article that was talking about this in Selling Power magazine basically was talking about the fact that his niece spent 4 days with him. And during those 4 days, she asked for $1 10 times, once for an ice cream cone, once for all sorts of different things. He counted over the 4 days. She asked for $1 10 times, and so she ended up getting $10. But he said if she would have come to me right up front and said, "Hey, can I have $10 right up front?" he would have hung her from the nearest lamppost, he said. So coming in and getting agreements on little things is what makes what we do so successful. We have terrific products available, but the client's not going to realize that these products are great for them. You realize that, but the clients don't realize that it is. So we have to communicate in a manner that the client is willing to communicate. So what I want to talk about today is Dr. Daniel Kahneman, I don't know if you see right here. He actually won the Nobel Prize for economics for basically the psychology of economics. So this guy, if you're going to get his book or read anything that he's done, it's fantastic education on why people say no to us when they should be saying yes. So let's go through some of these things, because we think people are logical. So let me ask you a question. How many of you think that your clients are logical when it comes to their investment decisions, what they do with their money? How many of you think that your clients are logical? No, they're not logical at all, are they? They're not logical at all. So here's one example that he gives. Let's say we were going to offer somebody an ice cream cone. And we said, hey, we have a 90% fat-free ice cream cone or we have a 10% fat ice cream cone. Which one would everybody choose? The 90% fat-free? And I say everybody. Which one would most people choose? The 90% fat-free or the 10% fat? So, Missy, I'm looking at the chat. Should that be where I see where they're typing things in?
Nope, it's actually in the question panel. So
sorry, guys. That's why I'm not seeing any of the conversations going on here. 90%. Exactly right, Kevin. 90%. So, I want to get this. So, does that make any sense, though? Because aren't they the same? They're the exact same, aren't they? See, but almost everybody chooses the 90% fat-free. This is an example of how you frame things, your products, your questions, your presentations. How you frame things can have a small effect or a significant effect on the client's perception of what you're offering to them. It's a huge effect, big, exactly, Ron. See, framing is everything. It's why I talk the way I do. A lot of you guys that have heard me present, do I spend a lot of time on things or a little time on things? Do I get to the point or do I belabor the point? How long does it take me to get to the point, guys? A lot of time, exactly, Bill. It takes me forever and ever and ever to get to where I want to go. Why? I belabor the point so they can walk themselves through what I'm trying to present in their own mind. See, investors have odd biases. They have inertia. We all have experienced inertia, right? They don't want to do anything. They want to keep doing what they're doing. They want to not make any changes whatsoever. That's a bias they have. Procrastination, we've all experienced that with our clients. Anchoring. They'll glom onto some fact or factoid or figure or something somebody said, and they will not let it go, no matter how idiotic it may be. They anchor to that. Framing, we're going to talk about it a lot. Heuristics, taking shortcuts. Heuristics is how our brain takes shortcuts to make decisions. Default choices, again, they'll go with whatever is shown to them rather than trying to explore new things. Now, we can use that to our advantage. And the endorsement effect, and we can use that to our advantage as well. Now, here's a great game that Kahneman talks about, the ultimatum game. Those of you who went to had psychology in college may remember the ultimatum game. What they do is they give $100 to the first player. Now, there's two players. They both know that the $100 was given to the first player, so they both know what's at stake. So when they give it to the first player, and they say to the first player, you can do whatever you want with it. Okay? Now, so the first player can decide to give the second player all of it, none of it, or some portion of it. And then the second player can accept or reject the offer. And then but here's the catch. If the second player rejects the offer, they both lose the money. So I could say, hey, I'm going to keep $99 and give the second player $1. Which would be great for me, bad for the second player. But if the second player said, hey, then I reject the offer, then we both lose the money. Do you get that? Now here's, and Missy, I need some help here. I'm sorry, guys, I'm working remotely. How do I expand the box here so I can see what they're talking about? I'm getting some good comments here, but I can't.
Yep, just drag it from, kind of put your cursor on the left side and drag it over. And then you can drag each of the lines. So between the question and the asker, you can also drag those to resize the columns.
I can't, but the columns are too small. I'm not seeing.
So the actual outside perimeter of the box, of the questions box.
I want to see more. I'm only getting one line. I want to see more lines. Sorry about this, guys.
Just drag it up and down. Just go to the actual perimeter of the questions box.
Yeah.
Until you get the double arrow. And then you can stretch it out. Just like you'd maximize or minimize your screen.
Yeah, it's not working. Oh, no, I got it now finally. Fine. Oh, okay, now I can see everything everybody's saying. So people will believe because they, okay, perfect. So, thank you. Sorry about that, guys. So let me ask you a question, guys. Here's what they found. So does everybody understand the game? Can I get a yes that people are understanding the game? So give $100. Okay, everybody's getting it. Okay. So here's the thing they found. People in the United States or in developed nations, people in developed nations reacted totally different than people in third world nations. So one of them one of them acted this way. They said, one of them said 50-50. So the first player was very, very close to giving $50 to the second player. The other entity almost always kept most of it for themselves. They'd keep $75, $80 for themselves and give $15 or $20 to the second player. So what do you think? Do you think it was the United States or developed nations that went 50-50, or do you think it was the United States or developed nations that went 85-20? I'm sorry, 85 or 80? Which one do you think? Do you think the United States went 50-50? The first player went 50-50 or 85? I'm getting 85. You guys, that's what I guessed too. That's what I guessed too. Everybody's saying 85-20, 80-20. That's what I thought too. But here's what happens in the United States. In the United States, when the first player would give less than 50-50 or significantly less than 50-50, guess what the second player always did? Guess what the second player always did? Rejected it. Yes, they wanted to punish that doggone first player for trying to stiff them. So they said, listen, if you're going to try to stiff me, it's better that we get no money at all. You don't get any money and I don't get any money. So in the U.S., we almost always offered a 50-50 split because we sensed that if we went far different from that 50-50, that we would be punished. But that second player would say, screw you, dude. If you want to screw me, I'm going to screw you, and we'll both walk away. You know, it's like, what do they call it? To cut off the nose, to spite the face. That's how in the U.S. and all Western nations, that's how we played. But the way in third world nations, what they did is they almost always offered less. And the second player looked at it this way. They just said, hey, I'm fine with whatever I get. Why should I punish the first player for being lucky? That first player was lucky. He found money. He found $100. I'm not going to punish him for being lucky. And whatever he gives me, I'm happy with that. So I agree with you. I thought for sure that the U.S. would be greedy, but it ends up that we're smart, that we know that if we're greedy, that people in the U.S. are going to say, screw you, then you get nothing. I'd rather get nothing and you get nothing just because you're a jerk and you're trying to be greedy. But in poor countries, they're like, hey, you're lucky enough to get the $100. Why should I punish you for being lucky? And whatever I get is money, pennies from heaven, right? Because I otherwise I'd get nothing. But see, that's the way people think. You have to understand how people think. And if you're thinking, don't understand the way people think, you could be trying to sell your product from here to kingdom come, and it's not going to be sold. You get that? Here's something we all know. I think we all know this. I'm going to ask you a question here in a second. We all know this because I've asked you many advisors this, and they all answer this question correctly. And then they go back to the client, and guess what they do? They do the complete opposite of what they know. And here's the question. This is one of the things Daniel Kahneman, or Professor Daniel Kahneman, found and was awarded the Nobel Prize for, was this. He discovered something we already know, but he proved something we already know. Are people more attracted to making money or more afraid of losing money? So is there more attraction to making money or more attraction or more a fear of losing money? Which one is stronger? The attraction of making money or of losing money? Fear of losing. So everybody gets this. Everybody gets the fear of losing money. And yet, what do advisor after advisor after advisor go back to and push on their client? What are they promising their client? And again, you guys are a good bunch because a lot of you are very safe money guys. But in this industry, financial advisors, guess what they, yes, return, Bill. Exactly. Focus, Jerry, you're exactly right. Focus on returns. So we're out there focusing on returns, and what are our clients worried about? Losing money. And I've made this comment over and over in the last 15 years to the guys I've coached, that we're in. If you're a financial advisor, you're in the worst business possible. Here's why. Can you ever make somebody happy? Can a financial advisor ever make somebody happy by giving them a great rate of return? No. You can't make somebody happy by giving them a great rate of return. I'll give you proof of that. Let's say that my wife just left me, my son just got arrested, and my car has just been towed. And then I get my statement and I see I'm up 30%. Will I say, oh, I'm happy? Will I say I'm happy? If my wife just left me, my kid just got put in jail, and my car just got towed, will returns make me happy? No. See, we cannot make our clients happy with returns. Are they pleased? Yes, but the funny thing is, even if they're happy when they open that statement, how long did they remain happy? How long do you, Dale says, if you get a good return, you're doing what you should do. If you lose, you're a jerk. I can't put it any better than what you just said there, Dale. He says, if you get a good return, you're doing what you should do. You're just doing your job. But if the amount goes down, if you lose money, then you're a jerk. That's the way they look at us. We cannot make them happy, but we can make them sad, can't we? Because when they open up their return and they've lost 30%, they are sad. So we've got the worst job in the world. We cannot make them happy, but we sure in the heck can make them sad. And that's what Kahneman has proved over and over and over. And here's what he found. The average investor is 2 times more afraid of losing money than they are attracted to making money. That's the average investor. When he looked at people who were retired, who no longer had income coming in except from Social Security or pensions, what do you think happened to that 2 to 1, guys? What do you think that went to, up or down? So the average investor is 2 to 1, twice as afraid of losing money than they are making money. Up, exactly. It went to 5 to 1 for retired investors. 5 to 1 for retired investors. They're 5 times more afraid of losing money. In fact, I'm going to show you in a second that in some cases it's 10 times more afraid. So they're 5 times more afraid of losing money than they are making money, and yet advisor after advisor after advisor does what? Wants to show their clients what? They want to show money managers to show them what? How much money they can make. No. What do they want? They want to make sure they cannot lose money. What do I focus on over and 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 over on all of my presentations, whether it's the trip presentation, whether it's the WealthMax presentation? What do I spend all my time presenting to the client? Can't lose money. And do I tell them that's what they should want? Do I ever tell a client that's what they should want, not to lose money? No. So we have to be focusing on what they want, not on what we want. And we love to think that we're financial gods. We love to think we've found this financial manager who can make tons of money and never lose money. Guys, if we found let me ask you a question. If we find a financial manager who makes tons of money and doesn't lose money, how many people in the world would want to invest with that guy? We find this fantastic because people are showing me wealth managers constantly. Here's a money manager. Look at his track record. He only goes up, and on down years he doesn't go down very much. Guys, if that was really the case, how many people in the world would want to invest with that guy? If he was beating the market all the time and he had lost less, everybody, Jeffrey, exactly, you're right, everybody would. And if everybody wanted to invest with him, eventually he couldn't help everybody. So what would he say? I have to have minimums. So if a guy is really that good a money manager, what would his minimums be? I'll tell you what. Long-term capital management, which was run by a couple of Nobel Prize-winning economists back in the 90s, they had a minimum of $10 million. You couldn't invest with them unless you had $10 million. And if you have a money manager that's that good, that he beats the market with less risk than the market, if he's really that good, he's going to have wealthy people lined up around the world to invest with him. So why the hell would he ever take your client's $100,000 or $250,000? He won't. So the fact is, he's really not that good. But do they all show you the numbers? But you know what? They've done study after study after study showing that the numbers that are quoted by the money managers, how many of their clients actually see those numbers? So the monies that are, I mean, Ken Fisher is a fantastic example of that. He even talks about it in his column in Forbes magazine. The numbers he quotes in his brochures, in his prospectuses, how many of his clients actually see those numbers? A lot or very few or none? So guys, let's give people what they want. Do they want growth or do they want safety? Are they looking for, are they going to be 10 times as happy if we give them high returns? Or are they going to be 50 times as sad if they lose money with us? So we need to pay attention to what they're asking for. This is a great example of this phenomenon. When they asked, they went to a bunch of retired folks and they said, we're going to have a contest to win $100. So here's the way it works. they asked these retirees if they would rather, if they flip a coin, if you flip a coin, that's 50-50, right? Flip a coin 50-50. If it lands heads, you get $100. If it lands tails, you pay me $10. Guys, how many of you guys would take that bet? 50-50 chance that if I flip the coin, if it lands on heads, you get $100. If it lands on tails, you pay me $10. How many of you are going to take that bet? Dale says every time. Yeah, and how many times? I would do that all day long, wouldn't I? But over 50% of retirees refuse to take that bet. Why? The chance of winning $100 was not good enough to negate the fear of losing just $10. Do you get that? So those of you that market yourself as safe money people, you're geniuses. That's who the retirees want to work with. So that's 10 times, 10 times. What's the name of Kahneman's book? Hey, Missy, could you Google Kahneman's book? I have it, but it's in my Kindle, so I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll get it.
Thanks. What should our presentation emphasis be on then, guys? What should our emphasis be on? First of all, we're not going to tell them. We're going to have them tell us what they want. But what do you think we're going to ask? Safe money, Dale, is exactly right. But here's the funny thing. Even when they've looked at it, even though they want to be safe, annuities, would we say annuities are safe or risky, guys, in general? Fixed annuities, safe or risky? They're safe. But when people are interviewed about annuities, guess what they always say? They don't like them. Why? Because they don't understand them. What does everybody think you have to do with an annuity? What's the biggest misconception about annuities that the public have? That if you put your money in an annuity, what happens? Yeah, you have to annuitize it, Eric. You're exactly right. Eric says you have to annuitize it. People think that if you put your money into an annuity, you have to annuitize it, which means that if you die too early, you lose all that money. We've talked about this before. How many people actually annuitize their annuities? How many people actually annuitize their annuities? 2 to 3%. That's it. 2 to 3%. That's it. So we got people concerned, and those 2 to 3%, they're happy to annuitize their annuities. They're not doing it because they're forced to. They're doing it because they want to do it. It's a good deal for them. But yet people will look at annuities as being bad things because they have to annuitize it, and then they lose it if they die early, which is a total misconception of how annuities work, isn't it? But we have to understand how people think. So let me ask you a question, guys. Why, as we said, a lot of you guys were answering earlier that I belabor the point. It takes me forever to get to my point. Why do I take so long before I reveal a product? Why? Why do I take so long before I reveal a product? Because I'm never going to reveal a product. I do not reveal a product. I let the client discover the product for themselves. I have them unwrap it layer by layer by layer. I don't tell them how something works. I let them discover how it works. I don't show them how it works. I let them play with it and make it so they can make it work. And when you do that, then they understand it, and it gets rid of all preconceived ideas. As Bill's saying, preconceived ideas. We get rid of those preconceived ideas by letting the client discover this stuff for themselves. Okay, so that's why you cannot rush. So why do you think do I make them tell me why the product works for them? The very same reason, right? They have to tell me why it works. They have to unwrap it for themselves. They have to discover it for themselves. If you discover it for yourself, you've probably seen this with your child. Maybe they're afraid of an escalator. Some children are afraid of escalators. So how do you have them discover that an escalator will not eat them? You could explain to your blue in the face. You could show them to your blue in the face. You could prove it to your blue in the face, but the only way they're going to discover that it's not going to eat them is what? They have to experience, exactly right, Ron, experience for themselves. So all my presentations are about them experiencing it for themselves. I don't whip out for WealthMax, whip out the illustration, show them all the numbers and try to prove to them that it makes mathematical sense for them to do this. No, because the only thing they focus on is life insurance. They don't need any more life insurance. Instead, I have them experience layer by layer by layer over and over and over again so that all preconceived ideas about life insurance are what? What happens to the preconceived, when they do for those of you that have done the WealthMax presentation, What happens to the preconceived ideas that life insurance is bad or they don't need it anymore? They're canceled out. Exactly right. They're canceled out. See, the other thing that we use, let's see, will Missy prioritize suggested reading list of books for the resources section? No. So, guys, can I just talk about before we go on here, I want to talk about, or Missy, at the end, let me talk about books they should read, okay? You remind me of that?
And yep. And I think it's Thinking Fast and Slow. Is that
That's it.
Ring a bell?
That's it.
Okay. I'll put
the
URL here in the chat as well.
But don't let me forget to talk about books before we get off.
Sure will.
So the other thing that we are hardwired for is what? Comparing apples to apples comparisons. So what do I do in all my presentations, guys? What do I do in all my presentations? It's all apples to apples with no jargon. And jargon is numbers. Numbers is jargon. I don't care what you... We all know we're not supposed to talk in jargon, right? But do you guys realize that when you whip out an illustration, whip out a table of numbers, that is jargon. That's the worst type of jargon. See, we can process numbers very, very quickly, but a client can't. They can't go through numbers like we do. In fact, they shut down. I shut down. I'm in the business of numbers, and I shut down when somebody starts presenting a bunch of numbers to me. But we're convinced that the numbers are going to get... No. Do not show them numbers. How many of my presentations show huge amounts of numbers? Am I at 5 to 10% of my presentation is numbers, or is it 90 to 95% of my presentation is numbers? It's 5 to 10. And the other thing that we do is, why I go so slow is, guys, what's more powerful here? Is this picture more powerful, or is this word more powerful? If I want to demonstrate fear, what's more powerful, showing this picture or showing you the word fear? What's more powerful? The picture is. Obviously, the picture paints 1,000 words. Now, is the only way we can do that is with the actual picture? Or can we tell a story that creates a picture in their head? So how many stories do I use in my presentations? It creates the visual in their head. Words mean nothing. You need to turn those words into a picture, into a story, into a movie. What's more powerful? That picture or the word greed? What's more powerful? Keeping your family safe or this picture? Think about that, guys, because again, I've been telling you how smart you are for calling yourself Safe Money Guys. But how do you present that? How do you paint a picture in their heads that you're a safe money guy? Except say, hey, I keep your money safe. Whoop-de-doo. Guess what kind of effect that has on people when you say, I keep your money safe? What do people say? Oh, that's good. That's great. Super. So what is it that you do to paint a picture in their heads of what you do, that you keep their families safe? Let me see, I've got a question here. Don't you have to figure out left, right brain? Engineers do not want numbers. Missy, how many of my clients were engineers?
You had a handful of engineers.
Handful? How about 50%? Because I had nurses, teachers, and IBM engineers. They don't want numbers. If you do it right, they want proof. You know what engineers want? Guess what engineers want? Do you think they want numbers, or do they want to be what? Do you think engineers want numbers, or they want to be what, guys? Get this. Doctors, engineers, people that are right brain, or whatever the hell you want to call it, people who are fact-based, do they really want facts, or do they want to be what? Think about this, guys. They want to be right. Engineers don't want numbers. Engineers want to be right. Doctors don't want numbers. They want to be right. Think about my presentations. Do I ever try to prove that I'm right, guys? Do I ever try to prove anything? Guys, do I ever prove anything in any of my presentations? No. Who proves everything in the presentations? The clients prove it to themselves. That's why I was able to sell so many engineers. And Dale, I'm going to talk to you just because you asked the question. Really, do you think that engineers are going to be more affected by keeping families safe, this phrase, than this picture? Do you really think that engineers are going to be more affected by the word greed than this picture of this guy? Do you really think engineers are going to be more affected by the word fear than this picture? Or right, Dale. So I'm picking on you because it's a good question, but the fact is that we are all human beings. We are not Spock. If we were Spock from Star Trek, then yes, it would be facts and figures. But even engineers are affected much more by a story and pictures than they are by facts and figures. It's human nature. It's how. Think about it, guys. How did humans pass along stories and beliefs for tens of thousands of years? With facts and figures? How did human beings, guys, I want to answer this. Stories, right. Stories, stories, stories. The visual. We are how much easier is it for us to learn with our eyes versus our ears? We're very visually oriented. Everything that we do is, so are engineers or those kind of people going to be more leaning towards or want to see some numbers? Sure. But if all you do is try to prove it, guys, if all you went into an engineer and you whipped out the old WealthMax presentation with all the numbers and proved to them that it was the right thing to do, how many engineers are going to buy? Guys, I'm asking, so if you, very, very few, exactly. Very few. You cannot prove, guys, now I got an answer here. Jeff says 50. No, not 50-50, guys. No, 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 no. If you try to prove something to somebody, especially an engineer, what are they going to do? What did I just say? Engineers want to be what, guys? Engineers want to be right. So if I try to, exactly, Jeffrey. So if I try to prove to them with the numbers, guess what they're going to do? They're going to use the numbers to what? If I try to prove to them that I'm right by using the numbers, guess what an engineer is going to do? We've all been there. That's right. They're going to try to use the numbers against me. They're going to try to use the numbers against me. So then I've got what? I've got a battle. I'm going to try to prove to them. They're going to try to disprove, and we ain't going anywhere. So that's why I use stories. I use visual. I use step-by-step. I use logic. Because remember, engineers like logic. I will agree with that. So you're absolutely right, Dale, earlier when you said that they're right brain, left brain. They want logic. How logical are my presentations, guys? When I go through it step by step and I ask them a question, they give me the answer, and then I build on that question with another, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and they keep building it for themselves. When they unwrap it themselves, boom, it's a done deal. It's just another example of the picture or the words are more powerful. So why do my presentations use visual stories? Why do they use comparisons, graphics, baby steps, and questions? Why? Because that's what works. But unfortunately, guess what all these things take? What do all these things take, guys? Dale got it. Time. Jerry, yep, they all got it. Time. And and again, especially as male salespeople, when we want to get from point A to point B, how much time do we want to take to get there? None. So why should I take the time to create stories and walk through comparisons and show graphics and take baby steps and ask lots of questions when I can simply tell them, hey, look at this WealthMax presentation. This makes automatic. Guys, could I prove to somebody, or no, I shouldn't say prove. Could I use logic to show somebody very, very rapidly within about 2 minutes why the WealthMax makes sense for them? Absolutely I could. And what's the likelihood they're going to do it? None. Zero. Zippo. I have to use the stories and do the apples-to-apples comparisons. Use graphics. The star chart is a graphic, isn't it? I mean, look at how many graphics I use in the WealthMax presentation. Look at how many comparisons I use, how many visual stories I use, how many baby steps, and how many questions, over 100 questions. Why? When you do it that way, it works. I've had, I don't know how many guys that have tell me that, Mike, this is the best presentation I've ever used now. Why? I ask why. Why is it that say, well, because the people actually say what you say. And I've had people, and I agree, guys, and I've been here myself, where they've said, Mike, here's the thing about this presentation. I went and showed it to a client, and when I asked them the question, they said exactly what you're going to say, what you said they're going to say. And then I said, okay. Well, I asked him another question. And then the client said exactly what you said you were going to say again. I said, well, yeah, well, why, what's the matter with that? And they said, well, when I heard you and Jeff do the presentation, I thought Jeff was just being easy. I didn't know the client would actually say what Jeff was saying there. And so why don't you? And they said, listen, I've been just talked to a guy here early last week. Said, I've been hearing this BS from marketers, this BS from quote unquote coaches forever, where they show me a presentation, they show me a script. It works fantastic in a lab. It works fantastic in a controlled role play with 2 advisors. But as soon as I go home and show it to the client, does the client ever cooperate? No, the whole thing falls apart. Yeah, Ron Tetley saying he had a 150% close ratio with this presentation. Showed it to 2 people, both bought it, and then another person came in the next day and bought it, and he tried to show it to him. They said, I don't even want you to show it to me. My friend convinced me it's what I want to do. So yeah, he's got a 150% closing ratio with the WealthMax presentation. And the thing is, guys, it's because the guys have had so many people say, hey, just do this, say this, whatever, and then when they do it with the client doesn't cooperate and the whole thing falls apart. But with the WealthMax presentation, with all the presentations I do, that does not happen, because I hope you understand that I get how people think. Now, it takes longer, it takes a little bit more work, but I've mapped it out for you. If you're willing to learn the presentation, the stories, the comparison, the graphics, the baby steps, and the questions, the presentation, you're going to have an unbelievable closing ratio with no stress. There is no stress involved when you understand how people think. See, instead of using hypotheticals and numbers and facts and figures and math and proof that we've been using for years, I guarantee you guys that use hypotheticals, numbers, facts, and figures do not make $1 million a year. Guys that do this make $1 million a year. Guys that do this make enough money to make a good living. And just that. So 5Q is not about proving. It's about changing beliefs. And the only way you change people's beliefs is with this stuff. Visual stories, comparisons, graphics, baby steps, and questions. It's the only way you change beliefs. And to change beliefs, we have to know what people believe, how they think, and every script, every presentation, every piece of 5Q software has been done for you. And actually, this leads right into that question about the books. So, guys, I admire the fact that you want to read and educate yourself. That's terrific. You can do that with the book called Motivational Interviewing. You can do that with the Think Fast. What is it again, Missy Kahneman's book?
It's Thinking Fast and Slow.
Thinking Fast and Slow. You can do that with Cialdini's book, and certainly go ahead and read those books. But guess when you should read those books? You want to guess when you should read those books, guys? When should you read those books? Before you've learned my scripts or after you've learned my scripts? After, Bill says. Exactly. Why? Because the motivational interviewing book is a theory. The Thinking Fast and Slow is theory. The Cialdini's is theory. What have I done with all this theory, guys? I used to go to sales training after Brian Tracy's sales training and Backrack's sales training. I went to Sandler Systems sales. I went to all these sales trainings, and they gave me all this theory. Take control at the first meeting and say, hey, yeah, that makes sense. Take control at the first meeting. That's terrific advice. I'd go home, and I'd sit in front of a client and say, okay, I'm going to take control of the meeting. Well, wait a minute. How do I take control of the meeting? I don't know how to do that. They didn't tell me that. What I've done, guys, is I've taken all of the theory of motivational interviewing, of thinking fast and slow, Kahneman's theory, of Cialdini's theory. I've taken all that, and I've boiled it down to exactly what you need to say, syllable by syllable. So if you want, you can go ahead and read all those books, and I think it's a great idea to read those books. But guess how much money, guys, how much money are you going to make from reading those books? It took me years to develop this scripts. It took me years to develop these presentations based on all that theory. So if you want, you can reinvent the wheel by reading all those books, or you can just do it the way I show you. Now, here's what reading those books will do. You'll say, aha, now I know why Mike's saying to do that. Aha, now I know why he's telling me to do that. It will not make you any more money by reading those, except it will make you more confident in the presentation. But if you're going to spend 3 hours reading the book, you sure in the hell have better done what first? Guys, if I called every single one of you up right now and I said, do the Wealth Max presentation, do that third meeting presentation for me, how many of you could do it? I know Ron Tetley could because he's got a 150% closing ratio, and he even admittedly said he didn't do it 100%. He said, I just knew it 70%, went ahead and did it, and it worked, got a 150% closing ratio. Sold 3 people with 2 presentations. I mean, almost the 20 sales we had last week, none of them knew the presentation 100%. They admittedly all knew it just 70%. Now, they're getting better every time they do it. But the presentation will make you a ton of money. The books will just say, aha, now I know why Mike's doing those things that I thought he was idiotic for doing that. I mean, there's lots of things that I do that a lot of salespeople shake their head and say, I don't get why he's doing that. That's crazy. He's taking 20 minutes time and something I could do in 2 minutes. He's saying things that I would never say to a client. He's doing that. All the books will do is validate why the script reads the way it is. It validates the reason I do things the way I do them. Validates why I use so many questions. All the books will do is validate what I'm doing already. But reading the books will not make you more money. Learning the scripts will. Guys, you should all, within the next week, learn that script. You should all have that script memorized. Because that script will make, I mean, I've already had guys make $30,000, $40,000 with it in a week with that script. How many books are going to make you $30,000, $40,000 in a week? And they didn't sell a thing. They did not sell a thing to make 30 grand. The client sold themselves. So prioritization, here's the prioritization of the books. Learn the scripts, then read the books. But learn the scripts first, guys, okay? First of all, can I get some yeses or no's? Do you get that? Am I trying to hide something by not telling you which books to read? Am I trying to be why do you think I'm telling you to read the scripts first? Not read the scripts. Learn the scripts first. That's what's going to make you the most money, okay? So, now I've been showing you how to get other people to believe. Now it's your turn to believe. If you really believed, how many of you should know the script backwards and forwards by next Friday? Because it does not take you. Again, I've had guys, we had 20 cases last week sold with guys who barely even knew the presentation. They went and looked at it 3 or 4 times and then just presented it. Because the best way to learn it is actually go do it. So guys, you have to make it a goal. Right now, I want you to all take out a piece of paper and a big old black magic marker and say, learn the Wealth Max script. And tape that right in front of your face so you're looking at that all week this week. Most of us are not that busy this week. Learn the dang script. It will make you a ton of money. By July 31st, you will have made minimum $20,000, $30,000 from that script. I guarantee you. Okay? So am I clear on what I think the priority for you should be to learn right now? And that is that Wealth Max presentation script. And there's tons of theory behind it. And the reason I show you this theory, guys, is not to make you psychologists, not to make you researchers, not to make you scientists. It's so you understand why we've created the scripts the way they've been created. Fair? Super. So that's all I have. Did we have any other questions or things that I missed, Missy?
I was just going to ask if you wanted to mention the contest for Wealth Max, the qualification guidelines from Equitrust.
You mean for the motorcycles?
Nope, for the Napa Valley luxury resort trip.
Oh, I didn't even know about that. So yeah, can you talk about it?
Maybe Kyle and I talked about it. Yeah, so qualification is the top 40 producers during the July 1st to December 31st period. There is a minimum for those, so it's going to be the top 40, but the minimum is you have to write $1.5 million in 5 or more cases. But they'll take the top 40 on that trip, and it is an Equitrust sponsored trip.
Guys, how many of the 5Q guys do I want in that top 40? That's right, Ron. I want 40. I want them all. So guess what I'm going to be? I didn't even know that that existed, but now that I know it existed, we need to let Equitrust know that we are the people they need to work with. We are the phone calls they need to take. We are the people they need to bend over backwards to please. So we're going to have all 40. We're going to take all 40 spots. That's our goal. We're going to take all 40 spots. Okay, is that a deal? And now, where do we find the Wealth Max presentation? Let me find it for you. If you have a second, guys, I'll show you exactly where you find this. So let me get to the website. So I'm going to the website here. We'll get into www. Okay. And then I will log in. So that's, and Kyle, if you're on, if the 5Q specialists are on, that's our goal. We want to take every single one of those 40 spots. So we'll have an announcement on our, we'll follow this every single month, see how we're doing. Okay, so I'm getting it. Does everybody see that I've come into our website here? Everybody see that? Can I get some yeses?
Yep.
Okay. So then we go right here to the implementation meeting.
Correct.
And the implementation meeting, then we get down to the sailing presentation, the yellow pad. Okay, so we click that. So here's the presentation. Here's the taking the application. So this is the actual presentation. This is the taking the application, letting them know at the end that, hey, this is life insurance, and taking the actual application. We actually show you how to do that too. And then for those people that are taking it out of qualified accounts, here's how you deal with the taxes. So we have the presentation, the standard presentation. Then we have the attachment at the end on how you then take the application for the Wealth Max, and then we have dealing with the taxes if you're moving it out of a qualified account. So we have all those presentations. And again, I keep saying Wealth Max, but we have the Sagicor, we have the Wealth Max with Equitrust, and we have another company as well. But we should be using the Wealth Max because it provides the highest bonus. It allows us to put the largest amount of money in. It has the best benefits, and obviously with this contest, we want to be making a statement to Equitrust so that we are the king of the hill. So when we want something, they'll give it to us. So we want to be their number one entity. So so everybody get how to get to these different places. And again, it does not take you that long to learn it, guys. If you run through it 3 times, you're 80% proficient, and then every time you do it, you're going to get just that much proficient. So I cannot believe, I'm off the charts excited because every single guy that's used the presentation in the last 2 weeks has sold the product. Now we've had a couple that sold it with people that weren't. One had leukemia 7 years ago, so they were turned down, and we had another one turned out. But every single person that has shown this has wanted it. I've yet to have somebody call me up and say, I've done this presentation, and the people said no. How many presentations have I experienced like that? I've never had an experience like that. That's why I'm this excited. That's why I'm pushing it this hard. So I apologize to you if you think I'm pushing this hard. The reason I'm pushing it is you came on to the system to make money ethically, and this product is the most ethical product out there because it's for their just-in-case money. There's no better place for their just-in-case money than the Wealth Max or the Sagicor. And what do I mean by just-in-case money? Most of our clients have money that they don't plan on using. It's there just in case. They don't plan on annuitizing it. They don't plan on bringing that account down to 0. They're not using it for income. It's there just in case they need it. And there's no better place that protects them from all the ugly things that life can throw at them and still give them a good rate of return than the Wealth Max. And this presentation is killer, guys. Please, please, please learn it. And I'll just give you a warning. I am going to start making calls here in August to you guys. And I'm going to have you do the presentation for me. Because you hired me to be your coach, so guess what? In August, so I'm telling you learn this by Friday because you make a ton of money by the end of this month. But in August, you sure in the heck had better know it because I'm going to call you and have you do the presentation for me. Okay, is that fair to do? Let me get some yes to that. Is that fair to do that in August, call you to make sure you have, because we go, September and October is our biggest marketing months. So come September, October, I don't want you to be 80% with the presentation. I want you to be 150% with the presentation. So make sure. Good. I'm getting yeses, and I got some nice pressure because it is a little bit of pressure, guys. But I'm giving you 3 weeks, 4 weeks to learn it. You should, though, learn it by this Friday. And your 5Q specialists are going to be bugging you about it as we move forward in these next few weeks because they don't want, because I'm going to yell at them if you guys, I'm not going to yell at you. I'm going to yell at them if you guys don't know this presentation because this is why you came on to make money. This is how you're going to do it. Fair enough? So thank you for being on the call today. If you need anything, please pick our brains. We're here to help. Anything else, Missy, I didn't know about that you should know about?
No,
It's all Kyle's fault. Exactly, Ron. Good. So thanks, guys, for being on. I hope you can tell I have not been this excited in 10 years. So let's go out and get them, and we've got a way to really make the last 6 months of this year a killer for all of us. So thanks, guys. I will talk to you all next Monday.